Magnus Carlsen, playing for the SG Alpine Warriors, takes on Jan Krzysztof Duda. Magnus has the white pieces and opens the game with 1 e4. Duda plays the Sicilian for the Chingari Gulf Titans. He wants to win. He wants to beat Magnus Carlsen, but Magnus goes knight c3. He doesn't go for the open Sicilian just as yet. Knight f6 and then bishop e2. He wants to take. Knight comes out to c6, and now Magnus plays d4. Well, there are a lot of transpositions in the Sicilian, and Magnus has avoided some of Duda's options, Najdorf being one of them. To f3. Now Duda stops bishop g5 ideas because and the knight is controlled. Queen bishop e7 played. The often is to put your bishop back, and the rook defends the black castles it out. Very not Sicilian. Bishop g, not the best, but it's a very logical bishop g4 ideas in the position. And now you can play b3, upping the bishop, but and pawn takes. You can connect the pawns with c4. How to play these positions slowly, get your rook, drop your bishop, develop your other bishop, and so on. b5 played by Duda, d5 square, but he goes bishop b7. Actually, this allows Magnus to fight for an advantage. Knight e5. Beautiful move there, and actually Magnus was waiting for the bishop to come here before he plays the knight, and the reason for it is that now with the pawn here, the bishop is blocked on this diagonal. Duda goes back, Magnus connects the pawn with c4, queen comes out to d7, and in order to break this structure, Magnus hits it with a4. Fantastic chess. Pawn takes, pawn takes. Now if the knight could have reached this square, black was doing completely fine, but the knight is far away from it, and Magnus plays a5 to fix this structure. Duda brings the rook, tries to put pressure on the c4 pawn. But look at how Magnus plays. First bishop a3, keeping an eye on the d6 pawn, maybe c5 at some point. Duda starts to gain counterplay. He says, I'm going to push my pawn, now bring my knight in because I want to attack here. And now Magnus, you have to defend it. So Magnus defends that pawn, and Duda actually moves in with his queen, attacking the bishop as well as the pawn. But Magnus staying calm. He has more space. Duda is attacking him, but he's playing this calmly. Pawn takes. You can't take the pawn. Your bishop is hanging. Have to be careful. So Magnus keeps the rooks, and now this pawn is defended with his other rook. This is actually very intricate play by Magnus Carlsen. Rook c7. Now the idea is to double down the c file and put pressure on c4. So Magnus goes knight f5. He wants to put his knight on e3, defend this, keep the queen off, and then win this pawn. Bishop goes back to c8, attacking the knight. The knight comes back, defends the pawn, and the bishop f5 and defend this pawn. But Magnus plays this intermediate move. Brilliant chess. He wants the queen not to attack this, and then later on he can pick this up. Queen b3 comes in, but now you can actually attack it again. That's what Magnus does. Brilliant chess. He found that intermezzo so quickly. Queen takes c4, and now the queen comes up, and Magnus Carlsen is completely winning. He's an exchange up, and he's doing so well. He is a pawn now. He's an exchange. Are you going to lose more material? Well, Duda has seen this coming. Takes here and takes on d1 acting. d3 is alive, but Magnus is going to play this very carefully. He first goes queen d4. He sees that the pawn is not moving here, and pawn is hanging. Take this pawn. It's possible, but Magnus goes. And how do you finish this off? Queen b6 played. He's now looking at this pawn on d6 because this is his queen up. But look at this move. Rook takes f8. Magnus finds it. If you take with the king, queen d8 is a checkmate. You can't take it, and you can see that Duda is very upset with himself, but the position was already lost. King h7, queen comes back on the board, and Duda is